Well, good morning. Today is Friday, and I wanted to do a video for everyone. I wanted to do a video of the days that led up to Christ being crucified and his resurrection. I'm walking around, I don't want to fall, but I kind of wanted to just talk to you about what's going on when Jesus was on the earth on this day, 6 days before the Passover. Jesus went to Bethany. Now, he went to Bethany, but there was more going on than just him visiting a town. He went and he was reclining at table with Lazarus. So this is the guy that died, and Jesus brought him back to life. And Lazarus is actually at the table with Jesus. And Mary and Martha are with him, and Judas Iscariot and the rest of them. They're reclining at table, and Martha's busy working. That's what she does. She works. And Mary is at the feet of Jesus. So we have these three people as the main narrative of today: Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. So Lazarus, we know, was brought back from the dead by Jesus. And he's sitting at the table. And the priests are really mad, and they want to put Lazarus to death because he was brought back to life, and he's threatening their religious situation, their religious, their whole religious order, because many people are believing that Jesus brought him back to life, and they're coming into a saving faith with Jesus. So Lazarus is there. Martha is busy serving everyone, making food and delivering it. And then there's Mary sitting at the feet of Jesus. And she has this costly bottle of nard. Now, nard is an oil extract that comes from a root in India. And Mary is anointing Jesus' feet with this costly bottle. But what does this costly bottle really mean? Well, I did a little research. I did some conversions as far as how much it would cost. And it turns out it's 300 denarii. A denarii is a day's wage for a common laborer. I looked that up and kind of did some math, and that's basically a year's wage for a common laborer. In today's standards, that would be around $36,000 for 300 days of work. Now, generally in our nation, without figuring in vacation times and all this other stuff, that comes to about 14 months of pay. And the equivalent price would be about $36,000 a year for 12 months. So we're talking close to $40,000 for this bottle of nard. $40,000 for a bottle of nard perfume. And Mary is anointing Jesus' feet with it. Now Judas, he sees this and he's totally freaked out, because he's thinking, we could have sold that and put the money into the coffers, and I could use it to help the poor. But in reality, what he was after is he could have scammed some of the money off of that, put it into his own pocket, because that's what Judas Iscariot was all about. He was about taking advantage. He was about skimming a little bit off the top and putting it in his own pocket for his own welfare, for his own use. And he's thinking, this is $40,000. I could have pretended to give this to a lot of poor people, and I could have put a lot of money in my pocket. So he's trying to convince this whole situation that he should be in charge of it because he's the money handler of the group. He should have the money so that he can give it to the poor. But he really just wants it for himself. He has no concern for the poor. But that's a lot of money. $40,000 for a little bottle of perfume, of oil. But this wasn't just a little bit of oil that Mary's pouring on there. Jesus likens this to the preparation for his death. Back in Jesus' day, the funeral preparations were lavish. They would spend lots of money on a dead person, and they would anoint them with oil to cover up the smell of the rotting corpse. So Jesus likens this to his burial preparation, which is really interesting because in preparation for his burial, there's $40,000 of perfume poured on his feet. And Mary's doing this. And Jesus wanted to draw the attention to not that this was a wrong thing. And Judas points out that we could have sold this and given the money to the poor. And Jesus isn't saying, well, you shouldn't give to poor people. Don't get me wrong. That's not at all what Jesus is saying. What Jesus is saying is, you're always going to have the poor with you, but you're only going to have me for a short time because I'm going to go get buried. So he's pointing this out to the people, to the disciples that are reclined at table. Now, back in those days, the reclined at table basically meant that they would lay on the floor with their feet extended out, and the table was really low. They didn't sit in chairs. They just kind of reclined on the floor. And Mary's down at the foot of Jesus pouring this oil out. And Jesus isn't saying, you're always going to have the poor, so you don't need to give them money because they need to go get their own. Jesus is saying, you're always going to have the poor to take care of. They're always going to be with you. So there's always going to be poor people. But I'm only going to be here for a short time. Why wouldn't you lavish my feet with this expensive oil in preparation for my own burial? And he's not saying I deserve it. What he's saying is, I'm going to be put to death. I'm being prepared for burial. And Mary's doing a good thing in doing this. So you have this really interesting situation 6 days before the Passover where Mary's anointing feet, Martha's serving food, Judas is trying to scam money, and you have a walking dead man at the table, and the Jews are outside. A large crowd gathers, and the Jews want to put Lazarus to death because he's convinced so many people to come follow Jesus because of Jesus' miracle of bringing him back from the dead. So you have a lot of tensions. You have a lot of interesting situations 6 days before the Passover. So I just wanted to kind of remind everybody, this is what's going on during Jesus' last week of ministry on this earth. I kind of think, we're locked up. We can't really go anywhere. We can't really do anything. But we can do something. Jesus, knowing that he's going to die, is talking to his disciples. Are we talking to our friends? Are we discipling people? Are we telling people what's going on? Are we convinced that Jesus is real, and are we serving him today? Maybe not. Maybe I'm not doing what I should be doing. Maybe I am. I'm not here to point fingers. I'm not here to make accusations. What I'm here to do is to remind people that Jesus is the only way. And Jesus knows your heart. Stay tuned. I'm going to try and do one video each day for the next few days, walking you through what's going on in Jesus' time, leading to his death. For now, God bless and goodbye, and we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully.